Welcome back to day 4 of our Helium 10 new content series, Predictions, Plans, and Preparations for Sellers in 2021. I'm Karen Thomas, and today I am joined by the legendary Tim Jordan. If only I was really listening to him from here. But it's only a fake background. But more importantly, Helium 10 wants to help everyone get on track for success in 2021. That's why Tim is joining us today for his session called Brands That Scale. And he'll be sharing his critical insights for taking your business to the next level next year. Tim has had his finger on the pulse of e-commerce since 2015, and he has helped develop some of the best out-of-the-box training and growth strategies for Amazon sellers. He is the host of the AMPM podcast. He's the Chief Growth Officer at Sellers Funding, and he frequently consults for e-commerce service providers and sellers. Tim, please take it away and tell us how to scale in 2021.
Hey everybody, this is Tim Jordan from the AMPM podcast, Private Label Legion, Sellers Funding, and a few other things here in the e-commerce space. This year has been crazy, absolutely crazy. And I've looked at a lot of the bad headlines, the COVID situation, events getting canceled, crazy presidential race, brush fires in Australia if you go all the way back to January, some things we've even forgotten about. It's overshadowed to me by the positive growth that e-commerce has experienced this year. I was just recently looking at some data that showed that the whole industry of e-commerce jumped up about 40% from this time last year. 40% for an entire industry, that's massive. Most industries only fluctuate 1 or 2% a year. But what's even cooler is that Amazon sellers have increased about 80% on average. So even if you factor in all the people whose sales slowed down or they couldn't get inventory, the supply chain was wrecked, 80% growth average for Amazon sellers. That's absolutely insane. So I'm thinking about this year. Of course, I have to start thinking about next year. And as we think about how we're going to progress our business and the actions that we're going to take to continue to grow that, we have to make some predictions. And I would absolutely predict that 2021 is also going to be huge. In fact, I think it's probably going to be bigger than 2020. In addition, I think that a lot of the lessons that we as sellers have learned from this year, the mistakes that we made or the bad luck that we had, like with supply chain or Amazon not accepting inbound shipments, we've learned from that, we've adapted, now we have a game plan to go forward. A lot of people have told me, well, e-commerce is just going to drop again when the whole COVID pandemic starts to slow down or dissipates because people will be back in stores. But I disagree with that too. I think that a lot of people who have never experienced or utilized online shopping opportunities previously are going to continue to use them. I've told the story of my father-in-law, who's an old grouch, an old curmudgeon who never shopped online. He loved driving to the store. And when he couldn't get a headlight for his car because he was afraid to go into AutoZone, he got online and he actually bought one on eBay, and it arrived like 3 days later and it was half the price of the parts store. And he said, man, this online shopping thing's great. I don't even have to leave the house. It just shows up to me and it's cheaper. And I said, yeah, welcome to 2020. It's called e-commerce. Glad you finally found it. And I think that he is a good example of a massive amount of the population that's realized how simple this is. In addition, a lot of the big box stores and a lot of the traditional retail marketplaces had to make adaptations this year to their game plan, and they started implementing heavier uses of e-commerce and more simple ways to access their products via e-commerce. So I think that overall, 2021 is going to be a massive year for e-commerce. As far as actionable tips, I'd like to share a few things that I would be looking at if I were you. The first one is global markets. Almost all Amazon transactions are done on Amazon.com, Amazon here in the US. And there's been a little bit of a slow start to a lot of the larger countries that Amazon is focused on, or a great start, but the smaller countries. So some of these small European countries, they just don't have a huge market. And some of the big countries like Brazil, they're a little hard to tap into. It's a little bit hard to get rocking and rolling. But as we look at countries that were launched a couple of years ago, Australia, some of the Eastern European countries, they're exhibiting large growth. And as a big headline, the number 2 marketplace for Amazon is now India. Who would have thought that, right? Like that happened fast. But what's crazy about India is the population is massive, and the middle income families, those with disposable income, is growing like crazy in India, which means buyers that can afford your stuff. So if you haven't been thinking about it now, you need to be thinking about global expansion. Again, 2 or 3 years ago, I wasn't that worried about it, but now that the Amazon infrastructure and also the buyer habits and the buyer demands in these other countries are leaning more towards Amazon, it's a great time to be thinking about doing that. And with great tools like Alta and some other ones that Helium 10 has, as they unlock in different countries, it makes that growth and it makes that expansion easier for you. The other piece of advice that I'd give you is to make sure that you're using big business strategies for your small business. Now, what I mean by that is there are practices, there are tools, there are opportunities that a lot of large businesses have been utilizing for decades, centuries even, but small businesses really haven't adapted them or adopted them. And it may be because these large business solutions weren't adapted to the small business's needs, right? As an Amazon seller, when I first got started, I was lost in the weeds. I didn't know how to utilize a lot of the different functions that a growing business needs because they just weren't there. The education wasn't there, the resources, the platform, the context wasn't there, but it is now. So make sure that as you're starting to grow your business, you're thinking about yourself as a big business. Don't think of yourself as an Amazon seller. Think of yourself as an e-commerce business, right? And when you do that and you start kind of unlocking the potential of your business by expanding your mind to think about big business solutions, you start to be able to implement scalability, tools that will help you outsource, tools that will help you save money, which increases your profit margins. Things that a lot of us don't think about, like using working capital to invest in inventory. That way, all of our money isn't tied up in inventory, and we can actually then invest more in advertising and infrastructure growth, things like that. It's really, really important to think of yourself as a big business when it comes to the tools, the strategies, the techniques, and you know, the way that we're going to think about a business, even though we are operating a small business. The next thing that I would say is that we need to be thinking about the next 5 years and not the next 5 weeks. And that's been tough in 2020 because we've had to be so reactionary. It's like every day we wait to turn on the news and the other shoe to drop, right? We never know what's going to happen. Schools getting shut down, businesses getting shut down, all sorts of craziness, you know, political unrest, riots and looting, whatever it is. We have become this year accustomed to just thinking about, oh crap, what's going to happen next week, 2 weeks from now. But right now we're in this crazy pivotal period in the world where commerce is changing and it's adopting at a higher rate than it ever has before, e-commerce. And those of us that operate small businesses, we're agile, we're flexible, we're able to maneuver quickly, we're able to adapt quickly. And those of us in this scenario are going to be able to move faster in the ways that we need to than the big businesses. This is our time to shine. This is our time to catch them. This is our time to really make a name for ourselves. But if we're only thinking about the next 5 days, the next 5 weeks, we're not putting into plan the provisions and the resources and the strategies, just the big picture thinking that it's going to take to move into the next 5 years. So make sure that we're thinking long term. What is this going to look like for you 5 years from now, not just 5 weeks from now? As I said before, it's been a crazy year, 2020 for all of us, but e-commerce has been awesome. And I'm so thankful that this is the industry that I work in. And just keep in mind that this should be an encouragement to you, right? A lot of people are succeeding in e-commerce. A lot of people are having great experiences. And a lot of those people are experiencing some struggles, some challenges. But think about like the analogy of a child. The child doesn't just go from crawling to walking. They don't just stand up and walk. They have to trip and fall a few times. They have to stumble. They have to, you know, wobble around and catch their footing. And we're the same way. So just keep in mind that as you're thinking 5 years ahead, and as you're trying to grow globally, and as you're trying to operate like a larger business would as a small business, you're going to stumble. You're going to trip a little bit. Some things are not going to go like you think they should. You're going to trip and fall, land on your face even a few times. But that's all just part of the learning process, and it's part of the growth process. So don't take those as failures. Take those as growth opportunities and a chance for you to gain wisdom and experience and those little lessons that are going to take you to the next level. I hope all of you have had an amazing fourth quarter. Continue to have a great fourth quarter, and look forward to see how all of us continue to grow together in 2021.
Tim, those were awesome tips. We should absolutely think more like a big business from the beginning. You're definitely someone with a unique vision, and I think that makes a huge impact on the long-term success or in accomplishing any goal, but especially in a business. I love your ideas of looking into expanding your sales channels to a new global market like India. And I absolutely agree that having enough working capital to invest in inventory and marketing is essential for growth. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom of thinking long-term instead of just simply reacting to the latest changes. And one aspect of thinking bigger for your business is managing your finances. Alta by Helium 10 is a financial service and critical resource specifically for e-commerce sellers. With Alta, you can get extra funds to help you grow your business faster, get daily payouts from Amazon, handle the VAT and GST with ease, and a whole lot more. Click on the link in the comments to create your free account and learn more. So tomorrow is our 5th and final day of Helium 10's predictions, plans, and preparations for sellers in 2021. I'll be with Amazon visionary Bradley Sutton and some very special guests, and they're going to talk about expanding into other e-commerce platforms in 2021. Same time, same place. Can't wait to see you tomorrow.